DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, it's the Midday Market Report with Jeff Dawson.
Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is our weekly 2 o'clock NCAA Collegiate Baseball Hour with the one and only Mr. Matt Grissom and Q back in the house, as I like to say it, 3 men in a box, as we're going to talk some college baseball. And tough follow-up here where the boys went 12-0 yesterday. And not only going 12-0, they figured out a way to defeat the mighty Huskies of UConn at a nice plus 155 price. That's okay. We like to give a few winners away, make them feel good, make them want to stay and play us again as we're getting ready for some tournament action. We got a few more weeks till I think it's time to shine. Conference championships, and then, of course, the regionals, the super regionals, Omaha, and all that good stuff. So without further ado, let me show you my famous, how should I say this, production skills and get 3 men in a box, very simply. The one and only Mr. Quentin Mills and Matt Grissom. What is up, gentlemen?
Hello. I don't know how we topped yesterday. I'm very nervous right now.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm riding high, but we got to figure out how to stay up there and top off a perfection. It's pretty hard, but I think we can figure it out.
Q, you made your debut last week, and we are grateful to have you back here. We talked last Friday, a week ago. So why don't you start? How'd the weekend go for you?
It went pretty well. Kind of quick recap. Last weekend, I nailed Florida. I was surprised they actually swept Vanderbilt. They're a team that I think is a real contender. I actually tripled up on them for the College World Series championship today at 10-1. I still think that's good value for them. We talked about LSU's bullpen issues at nauseam. We saw that, collapse that team last week against Mississippi State. So I don't want to say that was a big surprise. They cost me probably 8 units on themselves. Couldn't beat a lousy team, so that hurt. But 14-7 last week. I'm sitting 5-0 this week, so things are looking good. Let's keep the momentum going.
Mr. Grissom, how was your weekend?
Q's being modest. He did keep the momentum going, and what'd you go? 5-0, 6-0 yesterday?
Yep.
I went 14-7 last week, and my eyes are bouncing around right now. I'm trying to find the show. I think it was up like 11 units. So pretty decent. Nothing matches what I did yesterday, though. That was outside of USC getting postponed into a rain delay, which caused a push. That was a card that I was so confident about, and I'm so glad that everybody did their job, and we went away with winner.
Jeff, I think there's a first. I did your show last week, and then coming into this week, I swept the board last night, thankfully, and then Matt and I's first show, we swept the board. We went 9-0 in our first midweek post show. So I think a bunch of firsts bring some good luck. So let's keep that momentum going.
See what happens. You make your debut here last weekend, and this is amazing. For the fact is, we're getting closer to the end of the regular season, correct?
Yes. Yep. This is the last weekend.
Yep. Last weekend. That's why so many series began yesterday, just because you've got conference tournaments now that'll turn around and start like Monday or Tuesday. So it's short rest for a lot of people. You're going to see a lot of teams not throw their typical rotation just because they're trying to plan for, who's going to play in the conference. Game 1, game 2, you can't really throw a guy off 3 or 4 days rest like that. So it's a lot of chess being played right now.
So Matt, I'm going to follow up on this. for me at ECSI, listen, when our goal is to grind Monday through Saturday, and then we take a look at our numbers. We're up 5.5 units. Say we might play what we call as an action parlay on Sunday with half of the 5.5 units, meaning we'll put a half a unit on a 3-team parlay. We'll put the 5 units that were up. We're going to move that to the left because that's envelope Monday in 12 hours. So we collect our 5 units. If we hit the parlay, God bless us. If not, we had a great week and we're ready for a new week on Monday. And for you guys here coming off such a heater yesterday and understanding the chess and checkers where some teams are just playing out the strings. Some are playing for seeding. Some are playing to try to get that number 1 or number 2. Some are saying, hey, we lose this weekend. We don't have to face LSU. We don't have to face Florida. So, Matt, I'll ask you first. Do you now have to be even tighter today and tomorrow where Sunday could just be look at the board and there's really nothing, or there could be 2 or 3 games that mean a lot for these teams?
Yeah, I definitely scaled back today just because there's so many teams that are in a position, like we'll take Arkansas, for example, who threw Will McIntyre yesterday after they started Hagen Smith. This is all planned. Dave Van Horn had the lead. He wanted to secure that game 1 win. If we win today, we're going to lock up the SEC. So game 3 is essentially going to be a throwaway. So today you're going to probably see Brady Tigert for 3 or 4 innings. And then if we've got a lead, I would assume you're going to see Hunter Holland and then Gage Wood to finish it out. And tomorrow will probably be Ben Bobby. I mean, because it'll be a throwaway game. It won't matter. Now we're looking forward to the SEC tournament and getting players rested up. So it's definitely, I mean, it's going to be hit or miss. I probably won't bet anything unless a line just pops out at me tomorrow, because I think tomorrow is just going to be a free-for-all. Be a big dog day, more than likely.
Quentin?
Yeah, I agree with him. I will say there's probably a couple teams that you are going to have a good opportunity pending they win today. You know, ECU is one of those teams. They play in the American. They really need to sweep this series to get back into what we consider like the hosting, the top 16 seeds. They want to host, so that they're tied for their lead in the American with Houston. Houston lost last night. So ECU really wants to sweep this series against not Marshall. I'm drawing a total blank.
Who is it?
ECU. Oh, South Florida. I'm sorry. So they really want to take control of that because they don't want to have any more losses as they head into the American. They want to play for a top 16 seed. So that's a team that if they win today, tomorrow really matters for a team like that. Same thing with Virginia. You know, Virginia's kind of bounced around in the standings a little bit as a host, a non-host, a national host to non-host. So they really want to dominate Georgia Tech and really secure their position as a host and not really have to worry about making a super deep run in the ACC tournament. Same thing with Clemson. Clemson's trying to play for a top 8 seed, a national seed. So you would think there'd be some momentum and some motivation to maybe lock that in, again, to not have to overly stress about the ACC tournament. But like he said, if Auburn or if Arkansas wins today, tomorrow's a throwaway because they've locked up the SEC championship for the regular season. They're probably going to take it easy in the SEC tournament, knowing they're a lock for a top 8 seed. And that's what obviously is the more important goal. So it's really team by team specifics. You just kind of have to figure out what scenario are they in. How does D1 baseball have them kind of playing out if the season ended today? What's on the line? And then kind of go from there.
Mr. Grissom, Mr. Sean Alvarez says, see you in less than a week. I heard there's a trip to Vegas coming up next week for some the Circa and Cabanas and all that good stuff.
Yeah, old man is turning 40. I'm going to have to bring some Ben Gay for his knees and a wheelchair, I think. Sean, you better get ready, buddy. Rest that liver.
Well, Quentin, the funny story is it was back during March Madness. I think it was March Madness. I want to say it was March Madness. And Matt was at the Circa, or maybe it was football season, Matt, or something. And let's just say he was struggling a little. And I, Matt, what happened? Oh, late night last night, blah, 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 blah. And I was heading back home. So the young youth of Mr. Grissom here, antagonizing the soon-to-be 40-year-old Matt. You soon will turn 40 at some point in your life.
Yeah, 5 short years away, and I'm feeling every bit of it right now at 35.
We actually brought him in. Our very first time actually interviewing Matt was with Notebook Wagering, and he was a little late getting on. And when he popped on the screen, you could tell he was in a hotel room, pretty disheveled. And the interview was fine. He was a little pressed about it, but he messaged me back and he's like, "Man, I'm really sorry. Like, I didn't mean to come off like that. It was unprofessional." I said, "Dude, I get it. You're in Vegas. You've been there for 5 days. It takes the best out of the best out of you. Unless you're like, you live there and you really understand, like, I got to get away from the strip. A 5-day bender out there is one too long, and it's too hard on the body. It'll get the best of all of us."
I have it down to a science. I for the March trip, I usually spend between 2 and 3 weeks out there, and then it's September, it's usually 2 weeks, and I got timeshare out there. I have a place right across the street from the South Point, so that's away from the strip. And then when I go towards the strip, I'm right across the street from Top Golf, and I got a 10-minute walk to the strip. But my point is, you're right. You learn how to navigate these longer stays in Vegas, where I'm the guy that's up at 4:35 in the morning with the Starbucks, getting in some exercise. I'm also the same guy that's walking back to my suite at 7:30 at night with dinner, as you guys are just getting your second win, ready to spend God knows all night with Jeffrey Benson, with Derek Stevens, with those guys.
I've got to stand up for myself here. The worst thing about it is that trip where I went on Q's show, I was with a bunch of realtors, and you want to talk about some people that love to party. We were out till like 3 a.m. at the Remax conference. I mean, you get a bunch of realtors together. They love free food and alcohol, and it's a deadly combination when you're in Vegas. But yeah, I don't even go to the strip. I stay at Circa, so I stay away from everything. I may walk down to CVS or Walgreens, whatever's there at the end of Fremont. But outside of that, I try to stay away from the strip and Fremont in general.
Well, I was just going to say, you're away from the street. Fremont Street is like spring break down in Florida. I mean, you want entertainment, you got free entertainment 24/7 on Fremont Street.
And not always the entertainment that you want. I mean, you just forcibly get to see Satan and Jesus, and a half-naked Jesus. It's not for me. But
hey, they're building that Fremont Street back up, man. I mean, Circa being there is revitalized that place, and it seems like I got a realtor buddy that actually lives kind of where Jeff's timeshare is out by the South Point. He said, he's semi-close to Derek, and he said they're kind of revitalizing it. It's going to become, even though it's the old strip, they're getting back to almost making it like the new strip again. They've got some good investors coming in, and they're going to take some buildings down, remodel, and make it latest and greatest.
Yeah, and the fact is they got all the major sports coming, with the A's eventually coming. They're just waiting for their NBA team, and then so you will have full year-round major league sports there. Not that we need those or anything, but we always find a way to get to Vegas. So I'm looking at Wager Talk right now. I'm looking at their card. SEC, Tennessee at South Carolina, 3:00 start. A short number, meaning South Carolina favorites against Tennessee. Now, to my eyes, that opens up my eyes a little there. LSU, about 2-1 favorites at Georgia. Your Florida Gators right now, about 165, 170 at Kentucky. Let me see. Oh, I see. Maybe that's the reason. Tennessee, South Carolina playing a doubleheader today. Is that correct?
Yes, they are.
I just checked. It says they are only playing one game today. Tomorrow will be the doubleheader.
Okay. A&M, Mississippi State, 125, 130 on A&M. And of course, Matt, Arkansas, Vandy, great matchup there. Vanderbilt, a short favorite. So I'll start with you, Matt, since I brought up Arkansas and Vandy. Seeing anything on that game tonight?
Like I said earlier, I just feel like Dave Van Horn is playing for the series win right now to lock up the SEC. If we get this win, we're probably going to take tomorrow off and throw somebody else. But with Brady Tigert getting the start in this opener role, he's expected to go 50 to 60 pitches. And if it's a pretty breezy 50 to 60 pitches, you may see this kid up until like the 4th or 5th inning. And if we've got a lead, I think you see Hunter Holland come in and close it out, or perhaps Gage Wood to close it out and get a few innings out of Holland. Because if we can win today, like I said, we sewed up the SEC, and I don't think there's going to be very much motivation tomorrow to win.
Agree, Quentin?
Yeah, I do. The one thing that scares me is Vanderbilt. I believe it's throwing Devin Futrell. I told Matt on the show it's no disrespect to Arkansas, as I am sitting on a World Series ticket with them because I'm confident in them. But when you look at their offense, Futrell last week against Florida pretty much torched Florida's hitters for 6 innings, and then finally the bats, were able to kind of catch up to them. Arkansas doesn't necessarily have the consistency on the offensive side of things as Florida, so that could play into Futrell's length of start, and maybe he goes another 6 or 7. It's a stay away from me. I do think Arkansas has the ability to win this game, but I'm just not confident enough to throw money. I wouldn't be surprised either way, so it's just a stay away for me, but I love his logic.
Yeah, and basically what I'm getting at is because of the handicap with Dave Van Horn wanting to win today, if we don't get out to a lead, I think then you'll see Ben Bobby today after Tigert to where we can play for the win tomorrow. So It's all going to be dependent on – that's why it was only a 1-unit play for me today instead of 2. Going back to the roots of let's handicap the series as a whole. Yesterday was a 2-unit play. They got the win. Now I think they win the series. So if they lose today, it'll be another 2-unit play tomorrow. If that makes sense.
Q, absolutely. Q, I'm going to jump over to your squad, Virginia, right now. And I'm looking here on Wager Talk. A 6:00 start. Let me see who I can use here. I use DraftKings. Why not? Right now, currently on DraftKings, minus 165 on Florida, Kentucky plus 135. Insights there.
I actually locked in Florida at minus 150, so I caught it as soon as they dropped the line. So I take that as bonus money there. I really like Florida. I mean, they have 2 aces. They threw Hurston Waldrop yesterday. And I think because he didn't pitch but 1 inning last week just due to a rain delay. So don't give him the extra day off. Give Sproat, their number 1 Friday starter ace, the extra day, and that kind of balances those 2 guys out. They got the win. They're playing for the SEC. They're a game behind Arkansas right now. They obviously need Arkansas to lose. They've locked up the East, but they want to lock up the SEC regular season championship. So they're playing for some momentum. And then on our show, I talked about how their 2 series losses in the SEC were on the road. So Kevin O'Sullivan, I would imagine, I wasn't in the locker room as a paid intern yet. I'll probably be there next season, hopefully. I think he was kind of playing with them and saying, look, you're big dogs at home, but you struggle on the road, so go prove yourself. And they played really, with their heads down yesterday. Started off with 2 runs, kind of lulled to sleep, and then woke back up, and they just turned it on Kentucky. Kentucky doesn't have the bats to overpower Florida. I told Matt, Florida can score multiple runs with 1 swing. It takes Kentucky several swings to score 1 run. In Florida, again, they're playing for a national title. Nothing against Kentucky. They're a rising program and a fast rising program. But I've said it all, season long. They're regressing back to where they should be. They're on par with where they should be. It's a successful season, and I just think Florida's getting the win today and the series win.
Matt, the rest of the board, pick away.
Man, I liked Florida also, but it got out to minus 165, so I ended up parlaying it with Stanford. Our boy Quinn Matthews is pitching. He's got a sub-3 ERA. He's been money in his normal Friday night start. And then I parlayed that with Wake Forest as well. Wake gave us a little bit of a scare yesterday, but ultimately the better team came out on top. And outside of that, I mean, I'm going back to the well with Clemson. There's just not a hotter team in the country right now except maybe Arkansas. And then a little surprising move, that Georgia line just keeps trickling down. But if you can still get Georgia around plus 140, 150, I got it at plus 160 earlier with Goldstein pitching. As we saw last night, this LSU bullpen is just not very good. And I know we keep talking about it. We've beaten the horse dead, but you saw it firsthand. I mean, Georgia has the batting power to beat and to contend with LSU. The only benefit LSU had last night was that you had Paul Skeens on the bump. Today you're going to get Ty Floyd, and is it going to be good Ty Floyd or bad Ty Floyd? And I feel like with the hitting that Georgia brings, at plus 160, it was a no-brainer play to me. And I like it all the way down to like plus 130, 140.
Yep. I locked right in with the same concept, same offensive strategy. Listen, they've beat Tennessee at home. They swept Florida and swept Arkansas at home. So why can't they do it to LSU? To me, LSU is worse than Florida and Arkansas as of right now. And if they can sweep those two teams, then to me it makes no sense why you wouldn't at least roll a half a unit today on Goldstein and tomorrow on Liam Sullivan.
Yep, I love that logic. I also played Virginia. Q kind of talked me into betting Connolly. He's throwing for Virginia. He's a sub-3 ERA guy. I took him, and then I took a little nibble on USC Upstate. They're plus 200. They're playing against Campbell. They beat Campbell last night. I think this team, they're playing for whatever their conference is, Big South or something. They're playing for a shot. If they take this series over Campbell, they could win it. So they're right there. And me and Q have talked about it here just over the last few weeks. We don't know that Campbell is that good. I mean, they've beaten a couple Power 5 schools in the midweeks, but Power 5 schools really don't usually play their best guys. So it's not really a good judgment of how great they are. And now that they've got a legitimate conference threat, I feel like they could be in trouble.
Well said.
Q?
Yeah, I like UVA. I've been on them the last few weeks. They're on that hot, cold, hot trajectory that Matt, takes pretty serious, and it's statistically it's proven itself, and we're right on par with that. They're a dangerous team. They got a legendary coach in college baseball. They've got two stud players that everybody knows, and Kyle Teal and Jake Geloff. Their pitching staff is getting back to consistent and hot throwing. They can beat anybody in the country, in my opinion, with good coaching and a playoff atmosphere and the way they play baseball. They don't win by the power game. They don't have dominant pitching. They just play good, pure baseball, which is all what we love to see. And I think they're contenders. It sucks that I'm in Virginia. I can't get lines on them, unless I cross state lines. So it's a little inconvenient. But if anybody has their lines available, hit them today. I think they win today. And then, again, throw some money on them to win the College World Series. They've been to 2 finals before. They won 1. They beat, when Vanderbilt was probably at the height of their dominance, is when they got theirs. And then in 2021, I saw them beat, that dominant Tennessee team in Omaha. So they can beat anybody. They're not scared of anybody. And I think they're worth, a few dollars, because I think they could really be a scary team come playoff baseball.
Matt, I was listening earlier this week on VSiN. They brought in, I don't know the gentleman's name, quote unquote, a college baseball expert. And
Bradley Porras.
There it is. Thank you. Absolutely. That's the name.
Was it on Gil's show?
It was on Gil's show. Exactly. Yeah. So you probably already know the show and probably know where I'm going with this. Gil's picking his brain about futures, yada, yada, yada. And we've talked all year about the SEC and LSU, the team that Tennessee had, the hot, cold. And you brought it up a few minutes ago. I'm going to throw out a name here. And he was, excuse my French here, hot and horny. What the hell is going on with Clemson baseball right now?
I mean, you've got a down ACC for the most part, paired with, Bakich is a really good coach. What he's done so far at Clemson has been really good. I don't really get the jump from 16 to 7 after you beat and sweep a bad Virginia Tech team. I don't know. Q may be able to answer this better than I can, being on the East Coast, but Clemson doesn't do anything great, I guess. Caden Grice is kind of a poor man's Jack Caglione right now. He's a two-way player, but I bought into him. I've started backing him, and I threw a little bit of money on a futures ticket. I think I got him at like 45 or 55 to 1. But I don't know. I mean, until they got swept by Wake Forest, but that was in the middle of the season. Until I see them in a regional play like another tough opponent, I'm not ready to say that this is a legitimate team. Yeah, that number 7 next to their name looks good, but how warranted is it? This team is 6-8 against top 25 teams in the RPI top 25. I don't know. I'm not buying into them in the sense that they're going to win, but I'd rather have a 55 to 1 ticket in my pocket on them just in case than not, if that makes any sense at all.
Q?
Yeah, he hit it well. I for people who truly watch college baseball, they'll understand kind of where we're going with this. The ACC is still quality baseball. We're not taking anything from that, but it's down in terms of what past ACC college baseball has looked like. I mean, it's just ACC used to be so dominant. UNC used to be a top 5 team. Miami's kind of in the same bit. Clemson, Virginia, Florida State. I mean, Florida State's not even going to make the playoffs, which will end a 44 or 45-year streak. So that's upsetting. It's down product, and they're taking advantage of it. By all means, we talk about, hey, you played the schedule you're given, and kudos to those kids for having some early injuries, persevering, with a new head coach and kind of putting it all together late. You're playing hot. It's something to look forward to, and they're making some noise. I don't have a ticket on them. I'm just not that confident in throwing away, a few dollars. I think I could put them somewhere else where I feel more confident, but Matt's his ideology with it is right on par. They lost to a South Carolina team. I mean, I know Florida lost to them as well, but we're starting to see that maybe South Carolina wasn't as good, and maybe those are bad weeks for Florida and Clemson. But you put Clemson in a schedule with like the SEC this year, and I don't think they're performing nearly as good as what their record's showing in their ranking is. I didn't agree with the major jump. Obviously, D1 baseball loves them. I do agree that they should have moved up. I think that was a little stretch. I don't know that Clemson will get to Omaha. I don't have much confidence. I think they'll get out of a region. But when they play, like Matt said, a tough competition in a 3-game series where, everything's on the line, we're going to see what they're made of. And frankly, I think they're going to fold there, but I could be wrong, and it is what it is.
Matt, is this the cooling down of the Wake Forests of the world, the Vanderbilts of the world, the seasons? You hit the wall, you're getting ready to wrap up the season to get ready to conference play, and just the team getting hot at the right time?
I think Wake Forest is not. I think they're just dominant. I mean, pitching travels well, and that's always going to be the backbone of their team, but their offense may take some nights off, so to speak. As far as Vanderbilt, this is a problem, and not just because of the injuries that they've dealt with. The team's had a problem hitting the ball all season long. I mean, we saw at the College Baseball Showdown, they struggled, and up until the game yesterday, they were struggling to hit the ball. They're still making bad fielding errors. They play with no consistency. For a Tim Corbin team, they just don't look like they've got it. And the fact that they've stayed ranked as low or as high, however you want to say it, as they have all season, I mean, that's just based on what they've done in the future, because I don't feel like they're a very good team. I would probably say they're 5th best in the SEC right now. And I mean, that's saying a lot, because you've got Tennessee, who's pretty hit or miss, but I'd put Tennessee ahead of them. South Carolina's down right now, but I'd put South Carolina down. Like, they're probably 4th. And I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with Vanderbilt. But as far as the other teams, I don't think cooling down at this time of the year is what you want to be doing. I think if anything, this is just where you want to get out and assert your dominance and move on. Now, the conference tournaments, that's another ball game. I feel like that's where maybe you get teams that are like, yeah, we've already clinched. We don't need this. Let's get an early exit, go home and prepare to host.
Well said. I think you have two situations. I think Wake Forest is just bored. I think they're ready for playoff baseball. They've dominated ACC so much that they're kind of in a holding pattern or just kind of in a lull. I think with Vanderbilt, to Matt's point of them being ranked so high this year, I think they're being ranked and they're given benefit of the doubt of having Tim Corbin, one of the best coaches to ever coach, as well as the brand Vanderbilt baseball really carries some weight. And I think you could say the same thing about LSU. I mean, if anybody else had the many blown opportunities to win games and the horrendous bullpen, I think they would have dropped outside of the top 10, but we're not seeing that because LSU baseball is typically so dominant. To his point, you don't want to cool down at this point, but you can also maybe get an easier access to momentum because teams like maybe Vanderbilt really needs to win and they're trying to host to play as many home games as possible, knowing they're having, in their opinion, a subpar season. Wake Forest, Florida, Arkansas, if they wrap these up, they know they're a national host. They're looking forward. They're not worried about, Hoover, Alabama. So that's an opportunity where they're going to throw maybe a midweek guy or a bullpen guy to say, hey, maybe could be a guy we can rely on later on in the playoffs. Well, Vanderbilt then takes advantage by throwing their ace against a midweek guy or a guy that hasn't, dominated by any means or just hasn't given the opportunity. So then now they get to win, and then they kind of trickles down and rolls into the snowball effect of now we're getting the wheels moving. So I think in their situation, they have the ability to find some momentum. It's just going to be a little tougher because they're having such a down season.
And I'll say this too. Maybe I'm missing something with this Vanderbilt team, but Todd Walker last night, he said on the SEC Network, he said his best chances to win the national championship, he ranked the 4 SEC teams for his top to bottom. He had Tennessee at number 1, Florida number 2, LSU number 3, Vanderbilt number 4. Okay. Like
I'll give you Tennessee.
Okay.
I'll give you Tennessee strictly because
but not number 1
numbers.
Right?
No, not number 1. But I would give them ahead of Vanderbilt in all honesty. I think they've got the better pitching staff and the better offense. It's just they got to learn to get out of Knoxville, Tennessee and do that. I mean, we're seeing they're one of the most dominant teams at home. If they can be dominant on the road, they got it. Vanderbilt.
I would say Florida. Yeah. Florida 1, then Arkansas.
Then keep Arkansas in that number 1.
LSU, Tennessee.
We don't
then
like
maybe South Carolina even before Vanderbilt. So I don't know. Todd Walker, I'm coming for your job, dude, because you are not very intelligent.
Add David DeLucci to that list.
Yeah, there you go.
Q,
bozos.
The rest of the weekend, you gave us some information about tonight. Before we start to wrap up here, anything that the viewers and listeners should be looking for if this happens tonight? My eyes might be now here or vice versa, or anything else in tonight's card to help the viewers.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to UVA. They want to sweep. They want to try to slide, into a higher host role. And it makes, obviously, on paper, the higher the seed you are, the better opponent, or the weaker opponent, you should say, you'll get. So they want to, in my opinion, they want to sweep Georgia Tech, and they want to roll this momentum into the ACC and just really stay hot. Same thing with ECU. You're going to catch big numbers with them, but they're a good parlay team. They really want to sweep, against South Florida. There's really no reason why they can't. They're playing for a top 16 host spot. And then I think you look at, what Duke, Miami, it's kind of a stay away until we see what Miami does tonight. I don't know who Duke's throwing. It looks like Rosario's from Miami. Miami doesn't want to lose this series. I think that really hurts their opportunity as a team that people were starting to say were hot, and then you lose a series and you're like, wait a minute. Maybe they're not as good as we thought they were. Let's drop them. So that's another team to really look forward to, and then Georgia. I mean, again, I said on the show, play chess, throw your ace in game 2 and your second best in game 3 against LSU. With the thought process, Skeens is going to get game 1 anytime you face them. They're doing just that. Throw a little pizza money on Goldstein today. I got him at plus 160. If you can get a plus money, you still have a good shot. And then Liam Sullivan is just as good as Goldstein, in my opinion, tomorrow. If LSU wins today, in my opinion, that makes tomorrow's win even more valuable because you should catch a little better line with Georgia. And LSU is going to kind of not worry about the series anymore since they close it out. So those are kind of the games that I'll be looking at, as well as Coastal. Coastal needs to sweep Marshall as well.
Coastal, okay. Matt, any follow-up on anything tonight or to keep our eyes on for the weekend?
So if you're talking if bets, I would say if Kentucky wins today against Florida, back Florida tomorrow. Same with Georgia. If Goldstein loses, I like Liam Sullivan tomorrow. If you can bet game 2 of that Missouri-Auburn game and not lay an incredible amount of juice, I like Tommy Vale for Auburn. That's another team that's just playing really well. And I really hope that we get futures odds on conference winners when the conference tournaments come out, because I like Alabama and Auburn as kind of a longer shot to win the SEC. When you're taking all things into account, the national seeds are probably not going to try to win it as hard as the guys that are just kind of on the bubble, so to speak. And then this USC Trojans team, man, I've backed both of their pitchers, Caden Aoki and Blake Soderstrom. Those guys have both been sub-3 ERAs. They're probably playing a doubleheader today. I haven't seen a line. And then another one that just kind of piqued my interest is NC State with Matt Willadson pitching. He's a 3.10 ERA guy. He's going against Logan Evans, who's in the mid-5s. So I think NC State's got a pretty good advantage there. They're probably going to win that series. So just a lot of kind of wait and sees as far as some of the pitching matchups. And like Q said, Duke and Miami, I'm not a big Rosario fan. If Duke takes care of business today, then they'll have clinched the series. So they probably won't be as motivated tomorrow. Outside of that, I think that's about it. Stick with what you know, and what we know is what we've put out there. And as always, just make sure you're following us along, because that's where we're giving out all of our best bets.
Wouldn't be a show without our 30-second UConn update.
Well, Creighton Blue Jays is your UConn update. Unfortunately, I saw a pretty good pitching matchup as far as an advantage for Creighton. They were throwing a guy that I think had a sub-3 ERA. UConn's guy was like at a 6.86 or something. Just felt like plus 155. That was highway robbery. I thought UConn may be a little overrated, but they can't do anything. Like Q had said earlier, they can't do anything about their schedule. Okay, they're not in the ACC. They're not in the SEC. They play who they play, and they try to win. And they have. I mean, they're the number 9 team in the country. But at the end of the day, when they play better competition, they're going to get exposed a little bit. And I just felt like that was an opportunity for that exposure to happen. And we got to exploit it and get a little bit of a plus money winner.
And that's the cherry on top today, as always.
Y'all bounce back today. Y'all win the series.
As always, how we finish this, you can follow Matt Grissom tweets at CBS Insiders, Quentin Mills at Q Millie, and at Notebook Wager 1. But what I like to do is give you guys the stage. So, Quentin, tell everyone where they can follow you and get all your work.
Yeah, you can find me at Q Millie's, my personal page, at CBSB Insiders, at Notebook Wager 1. My buddies over there are doing really well in the NBA playoffs, NHL hockey. They're killing it. That's Notebook Wager and J Cam at Smitty Bucks. And if you know Matt, so give them a little follow too. You know, Matt and I aren't the only ones winning. So we'd like to spread out some winners there and pass on to Matt.
Yeah, so some big news. We did get the new Twitter handle.
Oh, that's right.
NCAA
That's right.
insiders.
Yeah.
I know CBSB insiders. That was a little tough, but now you can just know us as NCAA insiders. And we're going to branch out from just college baseball, and we'll, you're hearing this live with everybody else. I hope it's okay with Q that I tell them this, but we're going to also cover college football and college basketball through our page as well. So we're looking forward to keeping this thing going. I feel like what we've started here with Q and I is this is only the beginning, and we can't thank you enough for constantly having us on to talk about what we love, and more so just make people money. That's what we're trying to do here. So as always, we appreciate coming on.
Well, I will now publicly congratulate you guys. That is awesome, awesome news. And I will also say, before I have to deal with your secretaries and agents and all that other stuff, that Fridays, same time, bat station, or whatever is convenient, you guys are more than welcome to come on during the college football, college basketball season. We can keep this train running, so you can come on, give everyone your insight, your winners. We can drive some traffic to you guys' site, Twitter, and all that, and keep all the families happy. How's that?
That's perfect. Love it.
Love it. Love it.
So from Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, from Quentin Mills at Q Millie, and of course, Matt Grissom at Grissom Tweets, we wish everyone a blessed weekend. The weekend is here. Stay in your lane. Stay in your means. Go follow these guys. Any questions, follow them. Ask them. They do answer. Trust me. So everyone have a great afternoon, a better weekend, and we will catch you same time, same station next week. Well, I'll pause on that because someone's going to Vegas, so we'll talk about that backstage. So
no excuses.
I will be here.
Everyone have a great weekend. We'll see you soon.